Hi, my name is Nirmal Singh. In today's video, I'm going to demonstrate linking SQL Server Management 2014 to Microsoft Access 2010. Before you do this, you will need to download SQL Management Server, and you will also need to have a copy of Microsoft Access 2007, 2010, 2013. It all depends. Alright, so but today I'll be using 2010. Firstly, we need to open the SQL Server 2014 Management Client. Alright, let's just wait a couple seconds while it open. So basically what the SQL Server does is to hold the information that a client enters into the database software. Alright, what we need to do firstly is to remember the server name, because later down in the video we will see where it plays an important part. So to do this, we will copy and probably paste it onto our notepad. Alright, paste. Alright, so that it will be safe in the near future. I will now click connect. So basically this is the interface of our database client. We will now direct our attention to the left hand side of the client, to databases, where we will create a new database. To do this, we simply have to right click and select new database. Our database today I have chosen is to select student enrollment list. So today I will name my database student enrollment, ENROLMENT, making sure. Alright, then I will click OK. So we leave in the owner as default, and everything else basically is default. So we just put a name. I'll select OK. I will then expand my database folder. Alright, and here we see the student enrollment. We will expand the student enrollment and right click on table. I will then click table or select table. Use my proper English. Okay, here we have where we are going to enter our field. Alright, this field will be used in Microsoft Access to get our information. So today we are going to do a simple field. We are going to do the first name of the student. Alright, and the data type that you are going to select will be envarchar 50. Alright, so that basically will hold up to 50 characters basically. Alright, and then I will select, or I will put in last name, and my data type will also be the varchar because it is characters, and for good measure let's use gender. Alright, gender, be it male, female, or otherwise, but for today's tutorial we are just going to use the male and the female. Okay, so I will be saving this information now, and the name for the table, we will name the student list. Okay, so we will now direct our attention to Microsoft Access 2010. Okay guys, please note that we will need to run Microsoft Access 2010 as an administrator, otherwise we will not be able to utilize or will not be able to use some of the functions to link to the SQL database. Okay, so our file name, we'll leave it as default database 3 for the sake of this tutorial, and I am about to create my new database. Okay, so first thing, we need to go to the top menu. Alright, for those of you who has this hide up, just right click and we will minimize. You can either minimize or right click and maximize. All right, so we will select external data, and we would select the ODBC database. All right. For some of you, especially those of you that use in 2007, the ODBC database will be under the more options. But because I'm using 2010, all right, we'll be using the ODBC database. All right. So here the prompt will give us two options. We are going to select link the data source by creating a link table. We select OK, and we are going to not really pay much attention to the folders, but we are going to direct our attention to machine data source. We will select machine data source and then click new. For the sake of this tutorial, we are going to use a user data source because we are going to apply it to our machine only. We can also use the system data source. Alright, but for today we are going to use user data source because our client is on this profile only. I'll select next, and we will select SQL Server, next, and finish. So for the sake of this tutorial, we are required to put in a name, a description, and you see, they were asking about the server. I mentioned the server name earlier, and you see how it is important. So for the sake of this tutorial, I will give this name enrollment list, the description, students, and the server will, because we copied it before, we just simply paste it on. I now click next. Let's just change this because for the sake of this, we will put it as enrollment. Click next. For the sake of this tutorial, we are not going to change anything here. So here we remain as default. Select next. Okay, so here we are going to make a slight tweak. Alright, the default database to the one that we had created initially, which is student enrollment. Alright, and the rest stays as default. Click next. Finish. Okay, so I mean, as with everything, be it a network, be it a simple configuration on a router, we like to do testing. So we will test our data source to make sure that we have connectivity. Alright, so test completed successfully. I will click OK. I will select OK, and OK again. Okay, so the database is student list that we had created earlier on. Select OK. And for here, when I had done this initially, I had left out this part and I will get in some errors. So guys, please remember to select all 3 or 4 or 5 or whichever names that you have in the database. Ensure to select it, otherwise you will not be able to write any data into it. Alright, I will now click OK. And if you pay attention to the left hand side of the screen, our database was created here. So we right click and select OK. And now we go to enter some data. So because my name is Nirmal Singh, I believe it is fitting to use my name because, as Mr. Kadugan says, our names are special to us. Select male. Let's go Ashana. Just for the sake of this tutorial, I'm making up names right now. Smith, female. Roger Navarro, male. Philip Agro. Philip Agro is a Spanish guy, right? So we do Philip Agro. And the last name, just to show you guys that the 50 characters, let's get a long name. Hernandez, and we'll go male. Okay, I am now going to save my information. Alright, and we now go to the server manager. Alright, I am going to close this off just to refresh it to show you guys that it was saved successfully. Okay. Just give it a couple of seconds. Let this load up here quickly. And I am about to show you guys that the data was stored successfully. And yeah, that's basically it. We connected the server. Alright, we go to databases, student enrollment, right click on tables, right click, edit up 200 rows, abracadabra, dairy, voila. So the information that we had inserted into our databases here in this server. So you have Nirmal Singh, male, Ashana Smith, female, Raja Navarro. So let's do an overview of this. The SQL server, the purpose of it is to hold the information until the accessing server, if you were given that, or the accessing application, which is the database, can request to can request the data from the SQL server basically. So if we close off access and we go back into access, we can now say, hey, knock, 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 Mr. SQL, can you give me back my data for the student enrollment list? Alright, so basically, my name is Nirmal Singh, and I thank you for watching my video. I hope that it was fulfilling. Have a nice day.